And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism.
In case you missed it, Kamala Harris did an interview with Bret Baier on Fox News the other night, and oh my God, it did not disappoint. We knew it may be a little bit of fireworks, but man, the explosions hit. And so what I want to do is I want to show you some of the highlighted moments from this interview and share my commentary, and then kind of get your input on it. So let's check out the first question here. One of the highlight moments from the interview with Bret Baier. Check this. Let's check out this question.
Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years. So what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we have been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other.
Madam Vice President, more than 70% of people
that is
tell
about
pollsters,
turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
You've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade, people have become... But listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president, one, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous.
Let's dissect that for a second. Now, she was asked a clear question about, she said turning the page and been in office for the last 3.5 years. What exactly are you turning the page from? And immediately she goes right into talking about Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, they did a count. I think she mentioned Donald Trump's name. I believe it was said to be 21 or maybe 25 times during her interview, which is supposed to be for the viewers to get to know who she is. But that's not all. It gets better. Let's keep going. But we're starting to notice a trend with Kamala Harris. Every time she's asked a question, if she doesn't want to answer or doesn't know the answer, she filibusters. She dances around it. Now, one thing I will give this woman credit for, she is the greatest server of word salad that I've ever seen in my life. Matter of fact, she owns the word salad buffet, because I've never seen anybody be able to dance around a question for like 2.5 to 3 minutes, where I don't care if it's Oprah or Bret Baier, where the interviewer literally has to wheel her back in. Even on The View the other day with Sunny Hostin asked her a question. Hey, what's the difference between you and Joe Biden? And she starts off with, well, obviously I'm not Joe Biden. And then I'm not Donald Trump. And everybody's looking like, no crap. And she goes through this extensive word salad buffet. And after that, she sits there so proudly, and Sunny Hostin's kind of like, okay, but back to the question. Just like with Oprah, when she was speaking with the couple that asked her, hey, how are you going to make the economy better? And she went through the whole middle class upbringing spiel for about 2.5 minutes, to where Oprah said, well, kind of back to the question. And so she's good at dancing around it. But Bret Baier is not going to do what ABC or CNN or MSNBC or Colbert or Howard Stern does, which is allow her just to make a statement and not have a follow-up question for her to expound and expand on that answer. But he's going to do it. Check this out.
When you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the CHIPS and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the...
Yes, ma'am. May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate,
and
they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising,
okay,
and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country, killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Prosecuted trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
Six Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you,
but actually is focused on fixing it.
Six Democrats voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These are the six Democrats.
Let's break that down, because I am so happy that Brett Baier pushed back on that statement that I've heard her and Joe Biden say, which is, on day one, we put forth a comprehensive border bill. No, they did not. What they did put forth was an asylum bill. And if you remember, during the first 2 years of Joe Biden's term, the Democrats had the presidency, the Senate, and the House. Chuck Schumer was over the Senate. Nancy Pelosi was over the House. So if this was put up within hours of taking the administration, why was it not brought to the floor for a vote? It's because they knew that they would use just creating it as a grandstanding tool for election time. Now, they didn't put forth this quote unquote latest comprehensive border bill until 2024. And rightfully so, Donald Trump shot it down. Do you know why? Most people don't know why. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants in here annually. The border would stay open under the discretion of the president up until border crossings hit, 4,500? And then at that point, at 4,500 or 5,000 people, illegal interactions, the president has the discretion of whether they would like to close and secure the border at that time. Oh, and by the way, the whole thing about the 4,500 or 5,000 people a day, that's an average. That's a rolling average, which means that it's not like if it hits 4,500 one day, they just stop. No, it's based off a rolling 7-day average. And then it would have just totally allowed catch and release. It would have put more judges to process and get more people through much quicker, and would have legalized 1.8 million, a minimum of 1.8 million illegal immigrants in the U.S. And when they keep saying that this was a bipartisan border bill, there was only 2 Republican senators that worked on that bill. Number one was Mitch McConnell, and we all know why Big Money Mitch is stepping down. Mitch McConnell he did some great things as far as helping be able to put conservative judges on the Supreme Court. I give him that. The strategy on that was genius, was brilliant. But he's of that old school Republican, those borderline rhinos that are always bending the knee to the Democrat Party and then looking weak. And so the fact that they even decided to do this bill with them, so it was Mitch McConnell and James Lankford, the senator from Oklahoma, who has been roasted not only by the Republican Party, the Republican senators, but the Republicans in Oklahoma. They were not okay with that. And Chuck Schumer had him in that room, and they just beat the crap out of him. He bent the knee, came out of there with pretty much nothing that Republicans were asking for, and said, hey, this is the best we can get. And the reason why the Border Patrol endorsed it at that time was Kamala Harris loved to talk. Where's the Border Patrol? Blah, blah. That's because at that point, they were just being overran, and we had millions of people, many more than 1.8 million crossing in a year. So anything that was going to give them any resources was welcomed. That's the only reason they endorsed that bill. But they have endorsed, the Border Patrol Union has endorsed Donald Trump and said that Kamala Harris didn't do anything to help them. So that should tell you everything you need to know. The border bill, they tout and say, Border Patrol endorsed that bill that Donald Trump rightfully killed. The Border Patrol Union endorsed Donald Trump. Do you look at the demographics? Support from black women, down. Support from black men, down. Support from Hispanics, down. Support from the Teamsters, gone. Support from the firefighters, gone. Support from the police unions, gone. These are all organizations that for decades have supported, that the Democrat Party just knew had it in the bag. Now people's eyes are open. Let's finish this video because I can just keep going. Let's listen to the next question that Brett hits it with.
When he's speaking about the American people, that's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you,
that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
Now, you tell me if that looked like the temperament of somebody who should have control of the codes, or could sit in a room with Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping or Kim Jong-un, who are all ruthless dictators who don't play, who will disagree because it's an ideological difference. Is she going to act like that? Do you believe that that's going to be well received in Saudi Arabia, in any place in the Middle East? No, that wasn't presidential. And real funny thing is, she spoused this lie about Trump locking up political opponents, which is exactly what the Democrat Party has been doing. We all know the lawfare that they did on Donald Trump. They've done a number on him, but people don't think about, on the Democrat side, anyone that spoke out, what happened to him. New York Mayor Eric Adams came out talking about how the government wasn't helping him. That man was raided by the feds twice. Do you know that secretly that they've sent another, I want to say it's $100 and some odd billion to Ukraine? No, it's $400 and some odd billion to Ukraine. 450 million, I believe it was. Don't quote me on those numbers, but just check it out. They just authorized another set of billions to Ukraine for their people. While under Hurricane Helene, American citizens got offered $750 per household. Make it make sense. But let's keep going.
Would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassignment
I will
surgeries?
follow the law, just as I think Donald Trump would say he did.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said, I think he spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because he actually has no plan in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas, at $20 million on that ad, on an issue that, as it relates to the biggest issues that affect the American people, it's really quite remote. And again, his policy was no different. Look at where we are, though.
Like, this woman has serious Trump derangement syndrome. Do you notice no matter what they ask her about her, she diverts it back to Trump? Matter of fact, you ever tried to have a conversation with somebody that supports Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, they will run up and down telling you every way they feel about Donald Trump. But say, okay, what do you like about Kamala Harris? They can't get past 3 words before, one thing I like is Trump, she's Trump. I mean, you're like, okay, I get it. You hate Trump. What do you like? What is she doing good? What is Joe Biden done good? Won't be 3 words for it's back on Trump. And I'm wondering if when people took the jab, if maybe that did something. I'm serious. Maybe some nanobots went to people's minds, because how can anyone hear policies like sex changes for inmates, 5-star hotels for illegals, while we got veterans homeless, we got Americans struggling, we got people who lost everything in a hurricane, and we sending money over to Ukraine. We are promoting the slaughter of future generations through smortions, which is crazy for somebody to believe that the right to destroy your future lineage has priority over the economy, over inflation, over crime rates. That's how great the mainstream media propaganda is. That's how strong and powerful it is, that it'll have people voting against their own interest. But I digress. Let's finish on with this train wreck.
Let me ask you this, Madam Vice President. You call Donald Trump. You call Donald Trump. He's misguided. You say now he's unstable.
He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, and he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
Now, she had all of that energy for Donald Trump. Oh, he's this, he's that, he's this, he's that. No, and I know this, and I know all about Trump. The moment he said, okay, well, you was with Joe Biden, when did you realize that he lost his marbles? Did you see the blank look in her face and how her whole tone shifted to where she got really stared off in his face and got really kind of quiet, like, Joe Biden is just great, and I've seen him. Lady, we all have eyes. We know that this man is senile and has dementia and is not running the country. And you're still going to sit here and gaslight us. That's just like her being at a rally saying, why is Trump's team hiding him away? They think he's too weak. Like, the one thing about Democrats, if you notice, they project. It's just like, start paying attention to the trends. It's like a bill. When you hear Democrats put out a bill, if it says it's the Save the Fish bill, you better believe them fish are getting slaughtered at the moment it's signed. If it's the Protect the Mice bill, those mice are getting destroyed. Whatever they name the bill, the opposite is happening. It's like the Inflation Reduction Act. Inflation went up. The Climate Act, man. China and them been kicking out 5 times as much emissions than they were before they took office. Why? Because they give them carte blanche. They got free reign. Venezuela, we're buying oil from Venezuela that we still have to refine 2 and 3 times. Why? Because their oil is trash. When we have oil right here up under our feet that Trump calls liquid gold. These are just insane things. We stop our Keystone pipeline, and we cool with the Russian pipeline. And we're buying our oil, and we make other countries that were buying oil from us all of a sudden are buying from Iran, who got super rich, and Russia, who got rich. Iran was broke, but then they became one of the largest oil and gas distributors around the country. Russia made billions, if not trillions, over the last 3.5 years. Who's really a threat to democracy? Let's not talk about the coup that was done on Joe Biden. But I digress. I just wanted to take a moment just to show you the train wreck of an interview that she had and how she lost her mind, was totally unstable, and that anybody that votes for this woman needs to have their head examined, especially men. What is your benefit? What's the upside to voting for this woman? They don't like men. They remove us from almost everything. Down talk, disrespect. It's all about smortions, LGBTQ. I mean, what is the upside for any man? I mean, you have the right to vote for whoever you want. But what is the upside? The economy is crap. The border is open. In 5 or 10 years, what do you think it's going to be like then? So just think, we only got a few weeks left. And listen, it's not about if you don't like Donald Trump. It's not about that. But what it is about is, does his values align closest with yours? Does him being a businessman and taking care of the country's business put more food on your family's plate, more money in your family's pocket? All of this joy and feelings, joy is gone. And as a matter of fact, came out that after this Fox News interview, that Kamala Harris actually went insane and berated the crap out of Bret Baier. Told him he was a MAGA lunatic, refused to shake his hand, was very rude to him, stormed out, snapping on her staff. And I got a video coming out. Wait, oh my God, wait till you hear about what happened. Oh my goodness. But I just want to take a minute to show you what happens when she gets a little bit of pushback, when she has to explain. She didn't answer anything. She filibustered every question, and she mentioned Donald Trump's name more times than she mentioned her own or Joe Biden. This woman is acting like she's not the vice president right now. She keeps talking about, when I was a district attorney and yada, yada, I prosecuted transnational organizations. No, you did not. As a state attorney, you don't deal with federal crimes. So she had nothing to do with border crossings and sex trafficking across the border at all. There's not one case documented of her being involved in it. She might have prosecuted some drug dealers from the cartel that were in California, but that's not the same. But yet nobody pushes back on her until this Bret Baier interview. I'm so happy that he did. But again, I give her credit for going over there to the lion's den. But whoever runs her campaign needs to be fired, because the suggestions that they've been giving out have been horrible. But hey, tell me what you think. If you thought she did good, leave it in the comments. If you thought she sucked, leave it in the comments. What is your opinion about this whole election cycle? I'll put it in the comments. Remember to make sure you like this video if you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, after you hit the like button, turn on the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit all so you'll be updated whenever I release new videos. And I really do appreciate you checking it out. I look forward to seeing you at the top and on the next video. Over and out.